This is a clip from one of our recent live streams. We stream live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. As a reminder, this is our second channel, Fish the Moment Live. Our main channel, Fish the Moment, is where we have all of our highly edited YouTube content. We spend 30 to 40 hours a week producing one YouTube video that's posted on the Fish the Moment channel every Friday at 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. These videos include on-the-water footage of us actually fishing, as well as detailed instruction on how to use electronics, fish offshore, and a lot of other great information. Make sure to check out the Fish the Moment channel if you enjoy the content on this channel. The second secret to really getting on a great brush pile pattern is finding fresh brush piles, either shallow or offshore. So really that means planting your own brush piles or finding the brush piles that people have just planted. And I will say that the best brush piles I've ever been on are the ones that just got put in the lake within 2 to 3 days. You'll be shocked at how fast those fish will just go straight to those brush piles. And the brush pile I showed you earlier, guys, I was catching that fish out of, it was a brand new brush pile. In this creek here, that brush pile I found, it was green. I was snagging leaves with my crankbait, stuff like that. And those fresh brush piles are going to attract way more fish than anything else. And what you'll find is even on a ledge, let's say you get to a regular ledge that has brush piles on it, it's an obvious spot. If there's 6 brush piles that have already been planted there over the years, if someone comes in and refreshes a brush pile, puts new brush in that pile, or like kind of puts a new pile over there, all the fish on that ledge or that point or whatever it is, they're going to go straight to that new brush, and they're going to abandon everything else and go straight there. And a lot of guys, when I would fish Lake Dardanelle and stuff like that, if you wanted to win a tournament in the summertime or even in the winter, you had to be fishing the refreshed brush piles, the ones that just got put in there that year that were brand new. If you weren't doing it, you weren't going to win. You weren't going to do well in these tournaments at all, unless you were doing something different, unless you could find like a shell bed pattern or something, which is even harder to find in the fresh brush piles. So fresh green trees, like within the first day or two, is really, really crucial a lot of times to be successful in the summer. Would you agree with that, Randy?
Yeah, and back when, I had the time and before, I had girlfriends or anything like that, I spent a ton of time planting brush. And just like you said, I would plant green willow trees, and not necessarily trees, but like the big limbs. And I'd put them in anywhere between 3 to 10 foot of water. And I have literally put a brush pile in, a green limb, and then came back a couple hours later and caught a fish out of that very same thing. They will move into it immediately. But what you have here's the deal, and Johnny made a good point as far as the timing is real critical, that you have this time window when it's productive, is they will produce pretty well, for the first, 3 or 4 or 5 days or something like that. But then after that, when the leaves start to decompose a little bit, there's a long dead period where those piles just aren't any good until they completely lose all their piles and they just have bare limbs on them again. So the type of brush that you're looking for, as far as whether it has leaves on it or it was planted dead to begin with, has a lot to do with how successful that you're going to be with that. And of course, that's like the hardest thing to know. How do you know how long a brush pile's been in the lake unless you snag a leaf and you can actually see the decomposition, level of it? So it's almost like unless you plant your own brush piles, you never know, and it's just out of the haphazard how successful you're going to be on them on those new ones.
For sure. It's tough to do too, because like obviously most guys are not going to be able to go drop brush piles every weekend or for every tournament. So the guys who do it have a massive advantage, and the guys who invest in that time and doing it, they're going to win. And that's why a lot of local tournaments are tough to win, because these guys will just be able to go plant brush the week before or after work one night, and how you're going to compete.
I don't, here's the thing about it, guys. I don't understand where a lot of these dudes have the time, because it's like they've got time to plant brush, they got time to go deer hunting, they got time to golf on the weekend, they got time to fish tournaments. It's like, where does it come from, man?
I know.
They got time to grap around all day.
It's crazy. I don't understand it either, because I know I don't have time to do it. I do want to do one thing though, Randy. I think it'd be very interesting, because one thing I do know from past experience is I'll find a fresh brush pile. It'll be great for like a week, and then after a week, the leaves start to decay, and I find the fish just like vacate that brush. They will not be in it. They disappear, and for like a week to like 6 weeks after that brush pile gets put in, it's not nearly as good. Maybe you have like a week and a half. I don't know the exact timing of it. And then after about 6 weeks, those fish start to get back into those brush piles again. If you enjoy our videos and want more in-depth instruction about bass fishing, check out our virtual seminars on fishthemoment.com. On our virtual seminars page, you'll see all of our upcoming live seminars, including our advanced summer jig fishing seminar focused on both offshore and shallow jig fishing, where Andy and I will give you our best secrets in terms of bait modifications, areas, retrieves, and a lot of other great information. You can also find recordings of our past seminars. We'll be updating our library every single week with past seminars that will help you become a better bass fisherman. Check them out on fishthemoment.com. And they'll be good again. Or, they won't be scared of that brush. It kind of feels like. It's like there's a period in there where the brush is in a weird decomposition state that the fish don't like it as much. And that's really interesting. And I actually want to do a study, and I'm really thinking about going and buying a pontoon boat to test this out, to drop brush in a little lake and just kind of see where the fish go in these brush piles. Like, go fish them once a week just for a few hours and see which brush piles have the fish, maybe plant like one a week or something like that, and just kind of see the progression of where the fish go in these different piles and how it would all work. And if I did that over like a 6-month time period, that could be a really cool study, because there's really no one who's probably ever done that, or would want to publish the results. So I think that there's something that you could really find there, and it would be awesome if you could determine, well, hey, it's maybe worth just dropping brush one time a month or one time a year. Like, if you go in the spring, if you drop your brush piles in the spring, are you good for the entire year? Can you just catch fish out of those same piles in the fall or in the winter? So it'd be a long study, but I think it'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, and the thing about brush is if you guys, Johnny and I, we have a lot of brush around our part of the country, so we're real familiar with fishing it. But the thing about when you're fishing brush, it's like there's a tremendous amount of dead brush that there's just no fish in. You think there would be fish in there, and there's just not. And one of the things I can tell you guys about the placement on it is I don't know how many good places that have been ruined because somebody put brush on it. If you've got a good hard structure place that has your hard structure is already in place, like you have natural drops, you have natural breaks, some places that are just prime fish attractors. If you get some dude that drops a brush pile on a good hard structure place, it basically ruins that spot. I've had tons of places ruined by guys putting brush on places that they think is going to even attract more fish to an already good area. It doesn't work that way. That's why these nothing looking banks are the best ones, to fish for especially the offshore brush.
Yeah, I don't catch a lot of fish on like really good looking hard structure with brush around it. That's never really a good sign, unless it's, again, the fresh brush that helps. But honestly, I prefer, if I'm going to fish offshore in the summertime nowadays, I prefer to fish fresh brush or like the newest brush I can find, and it's not always easy to find it. And I have a video on the channel. Go to the main Fish the Moment YouTube channel. I have a video showing you how to actually tell how old the brush piles are using your side imaging. That's a video on the channel. I won't spoil it here, but just go to the main Fish the Moment channel, type in Fish the Moment brush piles. I did a complete guide that explains like how you can almost like carbon date the brush piles with side imaging. It's not carbon dating, but it's just using the image. So do check that out. But what I've found is that really, like on Grand Lake, for example, I catch a lot more fish on shell and rock as opposed to brush piles, because the brush piles that you need to fish have to be those fresh ones. So I don't even waste time a lot of times looking for brush, because I know that 90% of the brush piles that I find are not going to be any good, versus anytime I find a really good rocky spot or a shell bed, if there's not brush all over it ruining it, which happens, like Randy says, there's a really good chance you're going to catch fish there. So it's kind of you have to play that balance of fishing brush versus fishing other stuff as well, and trying to find those fresh brush piles is very, very helpful. Thanks for checking out the video. If you made it this far, we'd really appreciate if you left a like on the video. It helps us out with the YouTube algorithm and gets these videos out to more people. Also consider subscribing. It's free and it lets you get notifications of every single one of our videos that we upload daily. Finally, remember to check out the main Fish the Moment channel, where we actually have on-the-water fishing footage as well as detailed graphics on electronics, offshore fishing, bass behavior, and a lot of other great information. Thanks for checking out the video, and we'll see you on the next one.